Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Whiskey Congress is back in session. Stephen and I are together in the Cleveland studio. We were off for a week, so you missed our soundings and whatever.
Yeah, that was my bad. I was out in New Mexico.
The land of enchantment, I believe they call it.
And the land of high elevation, which...
Almost killed you, but... all right.
Just pay attention. If you have the sickle cell trait, just know that Los Alamos, New Mexico is 7,300 feet above sea level. And if you have the sickle cell trait, it is a very uncomfortable place to be. PSA.
I remember, I'm having flashbacks now because you told me, oh yeah, this might get triggered and I think I'll be okay, but I picked you up at the airport and I was like, okay, are you going to keel over or what?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And what's funny is I thought I was actually going to be okay because I had spent time in Santa Fe, but Los Alamos is that much higher elevation than Santa Fe. So, and that was my first time there. So, I'm starting to feel very uncomfortable, having trouble breathing. Even still, I had a little wheezing going on. But I was starting to have cramps in my stomach, right? And so I start reading about it, and the funniest thing about it is how they treat it. So there's two ways to treat if you have the sickle cell trait and you're in a high elevation. One way most people think of is they take out your spleen, right? Because your cells sickle and it causes lesions on the spleen, so they have to take it out because it's damaged and it won't work anymore. And the second way is rest and hydration. So
pretty dramatic. It's
right. I was like,
pretty wide spectrum.
I was like, so
drink some water, take a nap, or we're going to take your spleen out.
So you're telling me I either need to lay down and drink a Pedialyte, or go in and get my spleen taken out. That's it. So not
a lot of middle ground there. Is there?
So being out of state, I opted. Let me go ahead and hydrate. See if that makes me feel any better. It didn't help all that much, but I guess maybe it didn't make it worse. I don't know.
Well, you're here. So
yeah, just kind of toughed it out, but I don't know. That was a weird experience, but. Not now. So the reason I know that I have it is because when my daughter was born, I think they automatically test for it. At least they do here, and they found out that she had it, so they sent a letter home. And the funny thing is, hey, your kid's got the sickle cell trait. Just make sure whoever they marry, that person doesn't have it, because then their kids will have sickle cell anemia. And also, if your kid has the trait, then that means it came from one of the parents. Figure it out. And so for any number of reasons, it was clearly me. We didn't need to go through the testing and all the other stuff based off genetics. And then, then we got it.
So while we were away, a bunch of shit happened. We might as well start off with the whole Republican attempt to take down the Biden crime family using their secret whistleblower. And so they had this whistleblower that they were going to bring out. And then he was unavailable, and then he got arrested in, was it Cyprus? No, it was Belgium. It was Belgium.
Yeah.
So he gets arrested in Belgium on warrants from the U.S. related to money laundering, arms trafficking.
So it was unregistered foreign agent trafficking in arms, violating U.S. sanctions against Iran, making false statements to federal agents were the official charges that he got.
Okay. And so everything I've watched on the right claims that this is the DOJ coming down on this poor guy. His name is Luft. Mm-hmm. And, they're saying that one of them said that, well, he probably knows who's got dirty dealings with China because he was doing it. And that's probably true. Mob guys know what mob guys do.
Yeah. Now, there's a whole backstory with this guy. So he was arrested back in February of this year, and he escaped. And then, so if you think about the timing of it, right? So he was arrested in February, escapes federal custody, goes on the run, which is why he gets arrested in Belgium or Cyprus or wherever they got him.
That was Belgium, yeah.
Right? So he's on the run. But then between his arrest and escape and him being arrested again, right, he comes out with all this dirt that he has on the Bidens, right? So people are like, oh, the Bidens are just trying to take him down because he's gonna
Blow the roof
blow
off,
the
yeah.
whistle and bring down the Biden crime family. Well, I'm sorry, like the guy comes up with all this while he's on the run from federal authorities, and then he ends up getting captured again, and people are saying, well, they were just trying to, like, no, they weren't trying to keep him quiet, right? Like, Biden is not sending the FBI after this guy. Not to say that he wouldn't, because you never know with these presidents, but the reality is that the case that they had built up against this Luft guy, like, goes back to, like, 2016, right? Like, this isn't new.
No, and it's a very convenient timing for them to say...
well, I mean, for the conservatives
Right.
going after Biden, like it's timed up for them. But I mean, like I said, like if you read, like if you again, it blows my mind, right? Because this comes out. So what do? I go and I read the charging document, right?
Right.
And so you look at it and you're looking at it, you're just like, wow, this is crazy, right? Like you're like, oh man, back in 2016 he was saying this. It's just like, man, was Trump even in office then? Like that's what I'm seriously doing when I'm going through and looking at what they're putting out there, right? And so, because like one of the things that they had said it happened in like October of 2016. So I was like, wait, Trump not only was Trump not on,
Not yet, no.
we didn't even have the election yet, right?
Right.
So just the idea that Biden is going after this guy and it's all happening now because this guy is this whistleblower who no, they've been investigating this guy for a while. His rap sheet, because the other thing that someone threw out, registered as a foreign agent. How does Hunter Biden keep skipping that one? I'm like, this motherfucker ain't worried about that registered as a foreign agent, right? Like they just threw that in there because of all the other shit. Like, yes, it's true, but also considering he's got violating sanctions with Iran, he's got arms trafficking, obstruction, lying to federal agents. I think he's got plenty on his plate, and comparing him and Hunter Biden, like that's nonsensical.
Hunter Biden did cocaine and was with hookers, though, Steve. And by the way, that violation of the Iranian thing was sending oil from Iran to China.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yes.
he's working with the Chinese Communist Party. He's working with the Iranians. Yes. But he's your guy, Republicans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's gonna know. Like I'm sure he does.
Yeah. And I'm sure he'll say a lot of things to try to get his
Like I'm sure and if someone is willing to pay him more, offer him a better deal, I'm sure he's got plenty of dirt on the Republicans too. If this
guy's even legit.
If this guy is who you say he is, right? And if you're a guy like that, it's just like, look, I'm gonna sing on everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like, give me a new identity, all that other stuff, and then I'm gonna sing. I'll tell you everything about everybody. If he's as and look, these charges are hefty.
Yeah.
Right. And the evidence behind them, just what they put out there in the charging doc, it doesn't look good for old gal Luft.
Well, old gal. Yeah, I'm the first one to say if so-and-so says XYZ and your response to that is that person is flawed for whatever reason, okay. But is what they're saying true? So
and now it's tough, though, because just coming from my experience, right, like you got to think, can I put this person on the stand?
Oh, right? You cannot.
Right? Like, and that's the thing, like, right? Like, so if I'm going to bring someone forward like this, I have to think, can I put this person on the stand, right? And it's not just about what they're telling me, but on cross-examination, like, all these sort of things come up. Now, he's a whistleblower. Would he ever have to go to... yes, no, maybe, I don't know. But to that point, like, you still have to do that same sort of analysis, and then you have to think, what does he have to benefit of doing this?
Right, well, sure. In this case, probably a lot.
Right, but the reality is the Republicans don't care, right? They don't care if it's real. At the end of the day, they just need the headlines and the tag. You know why? Because they're not reading the charging documents. They're not actually reading who this guy is or what he is, right? Rudy put it out there, started the buzz going around about a whistleblower, Biden's facts, got documents, whatever. That's all they need. They don't care about the actual factual actions and sequence of event. Like, they don't care about any of that stuff. Right now, what they realize is that the easiest way for them to win is just to get the buzzwords out, right? Get the snappy headlines, just get them out there, get them circulating, pump it into Fox, pump it into Breitbart, pump it into your talking heads on YouTube and the podcast. That will spread the word, and then it'll be so loud with just the headline and the buzzwords that that's all people are arguing about. No one's even looking at the actual substance, and voila, they win.
Yeah, I mean, no, that tactic has been working a lot. You don't need facts, you don't need proof. You just need headlines, splash.
Since late 2015, 2016,
probably even before that.
I mean, before
that amplified it. I agree.
But like that, I think that amplified it rocket ship, right? Because before, like, you could fact check people, and then they would recant statements, they would backpedal, they would, say, they would try to walk. Now they just flat out own it or
foot on the gas and just say,
right,
yeah, I know what, yeah, exactly.
Right, or they go immediately to, well, I'd rather that than that guy over there who's liberal, right, rooting for tranny groomers. Right? So there's that's happening over there. Why are we even talking about me? Right? And then everyone's just like, oh, yeah, tranny groomers. And then, boom, they went.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that aspect definitely changed with Trump when you were able to just look into the camera, say complete and utter bullshit, and your audience doesn't care. They're hearing what they want to hear. They're good with it.
That's it.
And on that topic, not making things better for the Biden crime family.
Speaking of blow.
Yes. Yeah. So cocaine gets found in the west wing of the White House near the Situation Room. This is a couple weeks ago, and
I will say one thing though.
Okay.
I'm glad it was there.
What do you mean?
Well, look, the Situation Room is serious. So that means somebody went into the Situation Room and said, you know what? I need to be sharp. Let me get a look. Yeah. All right. Let's go. What's the situation?
Cocaine is not a sponsor of our show, despite Steve's commercial there. But all right, so I got a couple things to say about this. First thing I want to say is there is no way this is the first time that there's been cocaine in the West Wing. Now, this is the first time it's been found out in the open that we know of.
That the media has been
latched onto. Right, exactly. And then
which also leads me to believe that I think it's bullshit.
You think it's a plant?
Dude, it's the White House. You think about some of the people that have been in the White House the last, I don't know, just forever.
All right.
Not just presidents, like just some of the people around them and what we know about some of these people. It's not the first time cocaine has been in the White House, and I don't mean for a Nancy and Ronald Reagan dare drug bust. And between all the admin and all the administrative positions and everything else, it is. Listen, there is a reason why we can't stop the drugs from coming in from Mexico and Canada. You know why? Because
really
there's
want them.
a demand for it, right? And that demand is not just the people, the black people in the hood, right?
Right.
We know this, right? That may be the one you made the poster about. That may be your poster child for it, but I mean, it's all sorts of white kids in the suburbs. It's white professionals in up and down the coast, on both coasts, through the Midwest, big cities, Cleveland, Chicago, all of us, right? Like any one of these cities, I'm sure that if I wanted to, I could find cocaine in an hour once I get there, right? Like, so let's not act like there's some force field around the White House and that it doesn't get there. It's there. Every presidency since, I don't know, I'll say the 70s. Right? Somebody, maybe even the 60s, someone has had a little pinch. And in the 60s, they might have all just had it. Because, there was a time where people were just walking around with it in canisters.
Well, in the 80s, it was the hot drug.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, before it got, like, I don't know, obviously, because I was born in 80, but I don't know when the stigma of cocaine came to be in, because it used to be a very normal, legal thing, right? Like, I mean...
How many people do you know who are regular cocaine users?
Oh, anymore?
Just
I don't know.
Several.
Maybe a few.
I know at least a handful.
Yeah, most of them are people that are heavy in the bar scene still. That I from my gym or whatever.
Right.
That's
well. I can tell you that the Irish pub that I frequent, I know multiple people who do lines in the bathroom of an Irish pub in suburban Cleveland on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fucking everywhere. And I was so oblivious to it for so long. And then now that I know people are doing it, and it's like, fucking hey, it's everywhere. So my follow-up question is, how many people do you know who've had cocaine, like cocaine, and forgot it and left it behind? Because I know zero.
Oh, I know plenty.
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, come on, man. When I was in Chicago, like working in the bars, Chicago, like at night, you close up, like there would be, like you could make pretty decent money
on what you picked up at the bar?
On the shit that you would find on the back of the toilet. Like, and I still do this. Like, I go in a bar, I go into the bathrooms, and if there's a flat, elevated surface, I still will. Because, I can say any number of times I found something. Now, I would never take, some shit that I found and just like, oh, let me just do a little quick. No. I mean, between the fentanyl and just the fact that people are gross. But it still just cracks me up, right? Just to see what people leave around. Like, there's a bar in Lakewood. Actually, I don't even know if it's open anymore. Was it Take 5 or something, or the 5 o'clock lounge?
A 5 o'clock lounge.
Yeah, 5 o'clock lounge. Like 5 o'clock.
Take 5 is the oil change place.
Yeah, that's right. Across the street. 5 o'clock lounge. Like the way their bathroom was set up, it was almost set up. I think almost built for it because of where the ledge was. But then there was like you could go behind. There was like a gap between the wall and the ledge. But then so you could put something down there, but it wouldn't fall all the way down. And every time I go in that bar, well, I haven't been in there in years, but I would.
That bar was trash.
Yeah, I would just
also where I made my comedy debut. I did my first open mic there.
I actually remember that. Actually, that's why. But anyway, you would always find stuff back there. So people do it all the time because that's how they do it, right? You're drinking, and it's like, hey, I'm going to leave this in the bathroom. All right, you go in and you do it. Okay, all right, just leave it in there because I'm going to go back. And then like you're drinking, all right, let's go to another bar, and boom. Hey, where's my fuck? I left it, right?
All right.
And then I come in and I'm like, well, that's going to go because you're going to be a problem later if I let you keep doing this. That is a whole lot.
All right, yeah. All right. What the fuck? I shoved my face.
First time?
First time in front of a microphone. Anyway. All right, fair point. Yeah, drinking. Anyway, the stuff ends up in the White House. It's a bad look. They've not handled it well in terms of dealing with the press.
The fact that it got out is what leads me to believe that it's bullshit. Because I promise you that's not the first time somebody's found cocaine in the White House. So the fact that something like that got out, I think is utter horseshit.
Well, so the big thing is, I mean, Trump tweets that you can't convince me that this wasn't Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's coke. Well, they were in Camp David at the time of the discovery. So it wasn't theirs from that day. They apparently left the White House on Friday and this stuff was discovered on a Sunday. It's a bad look, though. I mean, it's again just to the same point you were making before. It's throwing gas on the fire. It doesn't need any more energy. Now, anyone who wants to believe that Hunter Biden's in the White House doing blow is going to lean on that as if it's fact, and there is nothing to substantiate that. But it's out there, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's a story that I saw and kind of was like, oh, well, that's not the first time, and then kind of forgot about it. But then I guess people are still talking about it, and I'm not sure why.
Well, they're really attacking. I'm drawing a blank on the press secretary's name. What's her name? Oh God.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So she. I've seen a few minute-long clips of her really fumbling over the whole, how she's getting asked questions about it. She's trying to tap dance around it, and it's
honestly, I don't care. I don't care. It's I don't. Right? You could say, "Oh, drug, White House, national security." Fuck off.
Right.
Like we're adults. It's the real world. Least of my fucking worries. Honestly, it is. Of all the stuff going on in and around the White House, I don't care. This is a non-issue. I think it's a joke that people are still actually fucking talking about it.
All right. I'm actually on board with you on that. I think that it is a non-issue if they want to chase down the monster that brought cocaine into the hallowed halls of the...
I don't even want that. I don't need any of that. Just moving on. Tommy Tuberville.
All right. Okay. Nice segue. Tommy Tuberville has been in the news for two reasons lately. The first one was when he claimed that white nationalists are what he considers Americans. And when he was pressed on that, saying white nationalism is symbolic with racism, he was like, well, I'm not in favor of any kind of racism. I was a football coach, and I've seen more diversity than anyone else, and blah, blah, blah. But white nationalism just means proud to be American. All right. So I'm stealing this to a degree, but the line I heard was, that's like saying, oh, you're friends in the KKK? That's cool. Not if you're doing any of the racist KKK shit. Well, that's what it is. So...
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a situation where, Tommy Tuberville was the head football coach at Auburn. He's an Alabama person. Alabama is a state where they were literally still fighting integration in 2011. So, in their school districts, right? They still had cases in court over segregation. So it's not very surprising that, Tommy Tuberville is trying to, redefine how white nationalism is described to make it more palatable, right? This is what the South did in the 60s and the 70s, right? They transitioned away from, well, I guess we just can't call them niggers anymore. They get all worked up about that, but we still can't stand them. So we got to find other ways that are a little bit more acceptable so that we can still, demean and rob these people of their rights and yet, have it not be such a big deal, right? So I guess we can't call them niggers anymore. So what can we do, right? Well, I guess if we take the housing and we put them all over here, right, and we do this and we do that and we do it through government as opposed to just being assholes about it. We don't need to be stringing them up anymore and killing them. They do that good enough themselves, right? So that was the mentality then. That's all Tommy Tuberville is trying to do now. He knows exactly what white nationalism is. He understands the definition, right? It's not that he's stupid and he's just like, oh, he's intentionally trying to shift the language on it, and he understands how Washington works. You put it out there, and then Fox picks it up, and then everything else. Now, this is a little aggressive, and I think everybody from Fox to Newsmax is going to stay away from it, right? But I could easily see this starting to creep into the body politic, right? Now, they're going to have a tough time with it, right? Because essentially what he's saying is, we're just proud to be American, and American is inherently white, right? Right? I mean, that's what he's saying, right? Now, he may deny that's what he's saying, but I don't know how, because it's clear as day that's what he's saying, that's what he's trying to do, and he's trying to find this soft landing for white nationalism to take some of the sting off.
Well, I mean, especially the right have proven they can take a word and just pound it down your throat, and eventually it changes meaning. Woke being my favorite example of that, because woke used to be acknowledgement that, hey, things were bad, and I did not open my eyes to what's going on in America, and now I have. That's what woke used to mean. Now it's,
Yeah, no, it's well, and that's what the one thing that the Republican Party is good, and I didn't like woke for the same reason I didn't like the name Black Lives Matter, because it was too easy to do what the conservative and the GOP and the MAGA people did with those phrases, right? Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's an empowerment thing. It's all lives matter and blah, blah, blah. Like, you made it too fucking easy for them, right? I'm woke. Oh boy, they're going to jam that down your throat until you're sick of the word itself. Oh, please, I'm woke. You need to get woke. Okay, well, and then in comes Ron fucking DeSantis, shoving it right back down your throat, just like a
don't,
right? Just over and over and over again, right? Like we'll make a Marshawn Lynch reference there, right? Go back and watch that interview.
Over and over.
Right, but that's exactly what they did, right? They are very good at that. I don't think this is what that is, right? Because Tuberville, as dumb as he is, he's not that dumb, right? So he's not going to try to beat it over your head. He's not going to try to constantly throw white nationalism, because he's not the one saying it, right? The media are coming to him and bringing it to him, and he's on the defensive. What he's trying to do is just give people, right, kind of spread the word. Here's your soft landing for white nationalism, right? It's just, I'm not a racist. I'm proud to be an American, and I'm white, so it's white nationalism, That's what it is. That is what he's trying to do, to find the soft landing for it so that it could stay out there, so it could still mean what it means, but then you just take away the sting from it so that when somebody on the left or a progressive or somebody with, pink hair and a, whatever,
Right.
is ready to throw something at you and they're screaming about white nationalism, you say, oh, I'm just a patriot and you're a Marxist communist, right? That's what he's trying to do. That's all he's doing.
So I was going to ask this, but you've already answered it, and that is, this is either he's really dumb and doesn't know what he's talking about, or it's dog whistle shit, and it's dog whistle shit.
It's dog whistle shit.
Okay.
It's the same thing with the second reason that you got him on the board, right? With the blocking the military nominations and promotions. One, you're fucking with national security. Two, you're fucking with people's lives and money and income, because these are nominations, so people are like hanging in the balance, old job, new job. Not to mention people getting promoted. Like you could have someone who's in a bad financial, or not a bad, but
yeah.
someone that could greatly benefit from being in a better, who could benefit a lot of different ways from being promoted, that you are holding up for an arbitrary reason, right? His reasoning behind it is because the Pentagon has a policy that a woman who needs an abortion, she can get paid time off to travel, across state lines to go have that done, whatever recovery
Right.
she needs. And like there was one other component of it, but it wasn't paying for abortions. Right?
No.
It was just like you can have the
It was
time
just
off.
allowing people to do it, yeah.
And because of that policy, he said, no, I'm not going to support the DOJ or the Pentagon.
Yeah, let me, for people who don't know. So these nominations have for lack of a better word, a ceremonial senatorial vote. So when there's promotions at this level of the military, it actually goes in front of the Senate, and they always pass with a 100-0 vote. I don't know of any exceptions to that. Tommy Tuberville is the only one voting to hold this up, and he says he will not budge. Now, he's kind of painted himself into a corner because now he really can't budge and keep a straight face. But at the same,
it's also ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
Wait. So it's got to be 100 vote?
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally 99-1, and he's just going, nope, I don't like this policy, so I'm stalling.
Dumb that they would have that as a.
It is a completely dumb thing. It probably got put into place in 1802 when it probably did offer something. But yeah, it's a ceremonial thing that usually just slides right through, and Tommy Tuberville is jamming this up, and he's fucking with the military. There's not an official, head of the Marines right now for the first time in 100 years. And how this does not destroy him politically.
Exactly. That's just like, we're in such a ridiculous time because the thought shouldn't cross his mind, right? Mitch McConnell, right, should go up to him and just like, we're going to vote on this tomorrow, and you're going to vote yes. And if you vote no, then, well, your balls are going to be removed from your body.
Well, Mitch McConnell doesn't have the balls to do that, though.
Oh, no, Mitch McConnell wouldn't do it, but you don't think that Mitch McConnell has goons that would? Get the fuck out.
No, I meant to confront him like, I don't think he has the balls.
I think he does. But I think that I don't even see that there's no political advantage to doing this. Also, you can get one department to change their policy that isn't directly like even supporting abortion. It's just so that your military women, right, can safely take care of a health care issue, right? So, I mean, because that's what it is. And there shouldn't be any sort of political gain from that. And now you just, it again, just shows you the spinelessness of the Republican Party. It's unfathomable that they're allowing this to happen.
Well,
right. And I mean, there's not even anything comparable. Because Democrats are doing whatever. I mean, and Democrats hate everything with war and the Pentagon and DOJ and all that, right? Like, they complain about it all the time, and yet it's an easy thing for them to take care of.
I was going to do this. I know I say it all the time. I know I hate this style of argument, but I make occasional exceptions to the what if this guy did it. If a Democratic senator was doing this because the Pentagon had a policy that was bad for the environment, whatever, And if they said, all right, I'm voting no on this until that issue gets changed, the right would lose their fucking mind.
Wouldn't happen. You know why?
Because you're
because
right.
Chuck Schumer would actually. If
you don't, are you about to compliment Chuck Schumer?
No, but I mean, if you don't think Chuck Schumer will go and just like, this is not how this is going to go. What is this? Stop this.
I shouldn't have said something too soon. You might have said something nice about Chuck Schumer making.
No, but
you're 100% right. He would get
right.
Chuck Schumer would be on TV saying this person needs to learn their fucking job and not hamper what the military's doing.
And that would be after he said to whatever he said to them in private, which they would come out and just like, yeah, we're gonna change that vote, and that is that. Right? I mean, it's just, so part of this is there is no leadership in the Republican Party right now. That's what this tells me. If there were true leadership, and I think Mitch McConnell is getting older, he is slowing down. He has had, he had that fall where he was out for a month. He's got some other health issues that have just been kind of picked up through some stuff going on with him physically. So Mitch McConnell just doesn't. I don't think he has the same bite that he once had, and I also think that there is no who is the leader of the Republican Party?
We know the answer.
People that work in the Republican Party right now. Like Donald Trump doesn't have a job technically, right? Like so, just other than Donald Trump, who is the leader of the Republican Party? Right? It's not McCarthy.
It's Donald Trump. It's Trump. I mean, you're saying in office there is no one. But McCarthy gets walked all over. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is probably the right answer.
Even her, right? Like, I mean, no, she's not, right? Because there's whole ass factions that are not like there's no one person that you're looking at and saying you're the lead. And the reason why it's not Donald Trump doesn't have the actual knowledge of Congress or how the House works or how the Senate works, right? I'm saying who's your insider, right? That has the experience. That is the go-to person to set the party right. Like, so for Democrats, it's Schumer and Pelosi.
Sure.
Right? Pelosi's no longer the speaker, but she's still a congresswoman. And I promise you, somebody steps out of line, Nancy's still going to be there just like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? You got Chuck Schumer. You don't have that on the other side.
Well, amazingly, Democrats historically have been unable to unify. And right now, they are so much better at it than the Republicans because the Republicans have two factions. You're either MAGA, pro-Trump, Matt Gaetz, or
here's the thing.
Or you're saying
Democrats right now, all they got to do is just shut the fuck up, right? Like you gotta push back when it gets too ridiculous, but they're eating themselves over there.
And
I mean, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert fighting and calling each other bitch, and Marjorie Taylor Greene loses this, and Lauren Boebert dealing with all the shit that she's dealing with. Like, she almost lost her seat in a place where she absolutely should not have even been. It shouldn't have been close, to a Democrat. Kevin McCarthy is constantly in a fight for his life because the deal he signed with the devil, all the devils.
Right.
Matt Gaetz isn't the leader. Like, they're re-looking at him for sex trafficking and all that other stuff now. The ethics committee is taking a look at him. Like, they don't have that central leadership with the know-how and the knowledge and the experience. Like, as much as everybody hates the swamp and people that have been there a long time, you still need that person around as long as you're going to have this swamp. You need a swamp creature that knows the swamp. And I don't know if you actually have that because they went for all these kooky outsiders, right? It could be Lindsey Graham, but he's got zero spine, right?
Oh, my God, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not Tim Scott. Right? Like, there's nobody, right? Josh Hawley wants it to be him, but because he wants it so bad, it's just not. I don't know who's the go-to leadership there.
I forget whose podcast I was watching. I think it was Sam Cedar, but it might have been Bright and Tyler Cohen. Anyway, they were talking about Chris Christie made news today because he's a Republican and he was sane. He literally got on Fox News and said logical, sane things. And the fact that was shocking says a lot about where we're at. I mean,
yeah.
Total curveball here, but you've mentioned in the past that you're not a fan of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to be the nominee to run again, which we are both against, but right now I don't see a second option even poking their head out. If Chris Christie chose a sane running mate and ran against Biden and Harris, would you be tempted to vote for Chris Christie?
No.
Okay, I might.
No, not after...
Bridgegate?
No, I mean, that was ridiculous. But no, not after the way he immediately, like, he talked a real big game during the campaign against Trump. He's out, and then the next thing you know, he's on the Trump transition team. Right. And he's trying to weasel his way into the administration.
Which he did.
Exactly. So, nah.
All right.
Nah,
I'm not saying I would vote for him. I used to date a girl from New Jersey when he was governor, and she basically told me if I don't hate him, she's never going to have sex with me again. So she's never going to have sex with me again, so I can say this now. But I think that he's a sane, reasonable person. He's a jerk.
Yeah, he is, but I don't think he brings any value because I saw a guy who like could have made a stand, like he could have lost and just like, all right, well, I'll find something else to do and then run again in 24, right? Sure. But instead,
he could have gone the John Kasich route and said, okay, this is what you want, I'm stepping back.
Exactly, right? That I can respect. I respect John Kasich for the way he went out and he's like, all right, well, I'm not dealing with these people. And John Kasich never got on the Trump train. He never, right? Like
John Kasich didn't attend the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, in his state.
Right. So I have respect for John Kasich for that. Right. I don't agree with all of his policies, but I was so scared of Trump and the shitstorm that he would bring that I switched from Democrat to Republican to vote for John Kasich, and I encourage people to do it to give him more standing in Ohio because I was worried about the impact of Trump, right? And I just, Chris Christie, like, had Chris Christie everything gone the same, him being governor of New Jersey and Bridgegate and him just being a slob and everything else, but he loses the nomination. If he just steps back and says, I'll wait my turn, I would absolutely have taken that statement a different way. But getting on the transition team, being part of Trump's administration, he's being critical of Trump now that Trump is out of office and out of power, and he thinks there's a chance that he probably won't be back in office. But that's just the type of guy that I'm just like, I can't put you in that powerful position, seeing how you folded like a cheap suit.
All right. I mean, I respect that opinion. Sanity goes so far now.
But I think that, like, look, we want to get back to sanity, but we need someone with a fucking spine to get us there. And
realistically, I didn't bring this up on purpose, but Kasich literally was that guy in 2016. Yeah. I'm a sane, logical person. I'm from a battleground state. Get behind me, folks. And he was like John Belushi running out of Animal House, like, who's with me? Yeah! And then no one.
Because I think with Kasich, I think you'd still be at a disadvantage in the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he would have given you better choices than, Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh. I think Gorsuch was actually a pretty decent pick. I don't really have a major beef with him. Like on the conservative stuff with abortion, obviously he's going to not go the way you want him to. But, I mean, I'm okay with him as a SCOTUS. Amy Coney Barrett, I absolutely am not. And, kind of not a big fan of Kavanaugh, but, could be worse, I guess. If he didn't have all the stuff, the drama of him when he was going in, with the allegation of basically humping a girl in college at a frat party.
I think it was in high school.
Or whatever. Okay, but either way, I'm not, I'm not, like, enamored with him. I don't think he's anything great to write home about. But I think with Kasich, you still would have not gotten what you want, but you might have gotten just better quality.
Yeah, maybe. But he never got above 2% of the polls, as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
All right. Now we need to talk about the fight of the century. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I don't know if this is going to happen, but if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that there's been trash talk between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and that Dana White, the president of the UFC, is looking into ways to make a mixed martial arts fight between those two happen. I really want this. I really, and actually, and my reason is not bad. I'll come back to it, but this got a lot of energy this week because a picture of Mark Zuckerberg with his training team showed up, and dude is jacked. Mm-hmm. I mean, now if anyone knows how to use Photoshop, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg does. So who knows?
But why would he?
No, he's not. Yeah. But I was genuinely shocked and impressed with how muscular and cut this guy was.
Well, it wasn't a huge shock to me only because I've been following his sort of physical transformation for a while. He's been at this for an extended period of time, right? This didn't all just come up, and you just don't get
you don't get like that in a week,
right? In a month or whatever, however long the conversation's been going on. So I've been, I'm into fitness, I'm into the lifting and the weight, all that other stuff, and so someone like Zuckerberg gets into it. It doesn't take long for that to. The people who are training him talk to this guy, that guy, and then it makes its way into our world. And he's been going about it the right way. Sometimes people in Hollywood or
Hollywood,
the rich and famous, when they get into fitness, they fall into traps that everybody falls into. Right, and I've
been selfies, constant.
No. I mean, with trendy workouts.
Okay.
It's just like, I'm going to do look at this workout that was in Muscle and Fitness or Men's Fitness or whatever the new trend is, right? Like everybody's going to Barre or Orange Theory Fitness or I should be careful with that one because my friends own it, but or all these other sort of
friend of the show, Cody Poundcake Brown, has been going to Orange Fitness, and that kid's jacked now.
Good, fantastic.
No, but I hear what you're saying. It's the trendy.
People get into that sort of stuff, or like everybody got really into CrossFit, right? I'm an old school guy that I think you build your strength in the gym in a very traditional way, right? It's boring, but it works. You build your conditioning outside of the gym, you build it on the treadmill, you outside, running, hiking, swimming, whatever, and then you should have a self-defense component in there. Like that's my mindset, right? Like you build a strong body, that can go for an extended period of time through conditioning, and then you need to be able to protect yourself. So when Zuckerberg, I see the route that he went, he trains in the gym, he does a lot of functional stuff, but he does your base multifunctional movements. So he's doing a lot of pressing, squatting, different types of deadlifting, all that stuff, which I love. Then he's doing the conditioning outside of the gym. Right, so I'm sorry, just doing curls real fast isn't conditioning. It's stupid, and you're going to hurt yourself. So his approach to it, I just falls into my camp. So I like it, right? And then the people he's training with, especially on the mixed martial arts side, are the real deal, right? It's not some guy who calls himself a guru that no one's ever heard of. That Tom Brady's trainer that is this world renowned, but it's like no one in the world has ever heard of him except for Tom Brady. No, he's training with actual UFC fighters, not fighter, champions, multiple in different styles of fighting, right? Within not only training with them but in their camps, right? So that means multiple coaches working on all sorts of technique, and Elon Musk,
So
go ahead.
I read that he was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Now, someone told me, no, he's not. I'm like, it was on paper or on a computer screen, and I read it. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I made a joke. I think I made this joke to you yesterday that I wonder if he got it from the same guy that trained Dave Chappelle to protect Oprah. It's one of my favorite skits on the Chappelle show. Dave Chappelle chops a board down and goes, "Get away from Oprah!" Anyway, funny stuff. But supposedly he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Okay.
So I haven't heard that. I don't know how true it is. And I don't know how much I trust it. Right? When did he get this black belt in Jiu-Jitsu?
I obviously don't know. First I heard of it was when I read it the other day.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that he doesn't.
Right.
But is it real? Was it honorary? Did it, did he kind
Did his
of
financial status make it a little easier?
Has he actually experienced, being on the mats? There's no, look, yeah, maybe he could do it and have but come on, there's not a single image of him in a gi or
when he was on Rogan's podcast. I don't remember him discussing jiu-jitsu at all.
Rolling on the mat, because it just seems like if you're a black belt in BJJ, that's probably something you and Joe would talk about.
I would think so, and I can't say for certain that he never has. I know I've watched him on that show at least one full episode.
I mean, look, maybe somebody. I'm sure there's a big Elon Musk fan that is losing their shit when they listen to this after we, release it. Oh my God, I know he is, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine, maybe,
tweet us.
Maybe
at Whiskey Congress. Your problem.
All I know is that if he's not legit and he's not taking this serious, and then he agrees to step in that ring or that octagon or wherever, and Zuckerberg, here's the difference. If I had to guess, and I don't know if this is true, but Zuckerberg looks like he might be kind of like OCD autistic, right?
That's been said.
I'm not saying that he is, but he seems like he maybe has some of those traits. His focus, and when you have some of those traits, you focus in, you zero on things, and then you become obsessed, right? Just from personal experience of people around me. Those type of people become really good at very specific things because of the way their brain works. And sometimes it's a bad thing because they, leave everything else, all their other responsibilities to the wayside. Where Elon Musk falls into, and again, I don't know this, but he seems more also on the spectrum. But
he's acknowledged he is.
Right, but more of a, ADHD sort of different, awkward personality, but not as hyper-focused as a Zuckerberg, right? So, and the difference is that Zuckerberg may not talk to many people, right? And he's gonna kind of do these responsibilities, but if his focus is training on MMA, then it's all in there. Right, he's not gonna miss details. He's gonna probably watch film of himself at practice. He's taking notes. He's reading books. He's watching other fighters. He's all in on this. Elon Musk has got Twitter. He's got SpaceX. He's got Tesla. He's talking to China. He's talking to India. He's trying to get all these things going. He's got a new CEO at Twitter. I'm gonna fight this Zuckerberg. Hey, let's do a little thing where I'm make it look like I'm really kicking your. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's tussle around. All right. And then Musk is going into this as it's some sort of marketing thing. Zuck is going into this thing as, I'm going to rip your head off. Right? So if Musk is real, if his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is legit, okay. If it's not, then you might be walking into a buzzsaw.
And conditioning plays such a huge role in those things. And I don't know, maybe Elon Musk is, got great cardio and whatever, but as well as I do, all the training in the world, all the whatever, if you're completely gassed against someone who isn't, you're in trouble if they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I have this fantasy, which I know won't come true, so please don't come crashing down on me when I say this. But I would love it if this happened. I would love if it was a good fight. And I would love it if afterwards they said, look, we're just two dudes in a ring right now, but we're shaking hands. It's sportsmanlike. I would love to see that.
God, you're such a fucking cheese dick.
Okay.
Dude,
no.
I
said it's not going to happen.
No.
But
this is what I want. I want Zuckerberg. I want them to shake hands in the middle of the ring before the fight. I want Zuckerberg to go in, and I want that motherfucker to look like a robot. I want them to put that mouthpiece in, and I want his face to go blank. And he already looks like fucking Data from Star Trek Next Generation. So all he's got to do is basically turn around, right? And then I want this Musk playing it up for the crowd. And then I want Zuckerberg to shred him. I want him to take him down and just pound it. I want him to twist him up like a pretzel and separate his shoulder.
Wow.
And end the fight. And then I want him to stand up, go back to his corner. They bring him out. They raise his hand. He looks at Musk and then just turns and walks away. And then they throw up a big thing for Threads and Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp, and then drop banners for Meta. And then they carry Musk off on a cart.
We have very different hopes for this fight, apparently.
Right, and then they take him away in a cyber truck that doesn't work.
You're still mad about that.
That's why I want that to happen. This is
Still
all
mad
over the fucking Cybertruck.
Steve is furious about the electronic truck that Tesla put a big announcement that they were going to announce, and then it came out at midnight. Steve stays up till midnight to see this thing, and he fucking
It's
hates
not the
it.
staying up. It's not like I go to bed early, but it's more.
You made a point of
I
seeing
made a
this.
point, like it was a big deal. Like I'm not going to get into anything else. I'm going to watch the announcement of this, and it was just between the design of the truck looking like something from Blade Runner to the fact that it was supposed to have bulletproof windows, and then he hit it with a baseball bat, and the window broke. Like,
Forgot about that.
God damn it!
All right. Before we wrap up, so do we have a Threads account?
Yeah.
Do we? Okay.
Sure do.
Steve
I'm
does our
on it.
social media. I meant to ask you during the week, forgot to. Yeah. So how do you when you're comparing Twitter and Threads? You're an avid Twitter user. What do you think?
It's Threads is a little clunky compared to Twitter, but part of it is just being used to Twitter, and they had to make it different, although it's very similar. So I think there's some of that clunkiness, right, where it looks like somebody copied somebody else's homework. But it'll do, and Twitter is just a gross place anymore. Just with the way the algorithm is and how people are trying to, because they're paying people. So if you have over 10,000 followers and you've tweeted a certain number of times and you have a Twitter Blue membership, you can monetize your account. Well, we have like 3,500 followers, and so automatically we're out, and I don't have a Twitter Blue account because I'm not paying it. I'm not paying Elon Musk. But if you have all those things, you can monetize your account. People are starting to make pretty decent money on Twitter. But what that's doing is driving people just to tweet more, and they're trying to get the ad revenue and all that other stuff up. And it's basically a bastion for conspiracy theory and MAGA. Like it's hard to even get good actual news because most of your news sites, like your Washington Post and New York Times, most of them are pulling pretty much out of Twitter. And a lot of that started when you had to get the official Blue or the Twitter Blue and all that stuff and pay for the accounts. And so Twitter is going the wrong direction. And now it's still good for sports, right? Because like a lot of like the Steeler people that I follow and some of the Bills stuff that I follow, just for your sake, like those are. So
you
still
get the scoop on me and tell me that Marcel Darius has been traded before. Happened on the show.
That's not really a competition.
I know. Well, fine, but that happened during the show, and I was.
Well, I saw it, and that was a big one.
Oh, it definitely was.
Really,
I believe you caused me to have a meltdown on the show.
Yes,
though.
you did.
Okay.
Was it, like I said, not a competition, but I don't know. So I will probably sooner than later go over to Threads full time. I don't know, because your Twitter account, your WhiskeyCon Gym is attached. Like I won't shut it all the way down, but I don't know if there's a lot of value in staying there. And again, because I don't like the direction that it's going with the monetization and everything else. And I think that it's going to get to a point soon where if you don't buy a monthly subscription to it, then you're going to start to lose access and features, and you're going to get buried even further, which is already starting to happen. Like, our engagement is like way down, and like not much has changed.
We're not algorithm friendly.
It's not even. Well, I think they changed the algorithm now, and I think a lot of it has to do with us not being, verified members, which we qualified for it a while ago. I just never did it. I'm actually glad I didn't do it before the whole thing because there was a huge issue with that. But now I'm not paying for it now. So I may go through the process of getting us verified on Threads, but I don't know if we could do that because we don't have the same sort of following on Threads yet. So.
No, but one thing, say what you want about Mark Zuckerberg. He has evolved his business over time very effectively.
It's not perfect, and if you're a conservative, you're probably pissed at him for some reason, but you're pissed at everybody until they start saying exactly what you want them to say, and then you love them, even if that person literally does the opposite in front of you, but then they just say the thing you want to say, and then you completely forget about their actual actions. It's amazing, but anyway.
Yeah, all right, well, we can wrap this up soon, but I do want to talk about something I read that I...
you keep teasing me with the wrap-up.
With my what? Oh, wrap up?
Yeah.
All right, well, we can wrap it up pretty quick because I read this and it was a policy that you wrote about on our website back in the day, I guess. I don't remember that. It was 2021 and I've smoked a lot of weed since then. But Travis Kelce has basically come out in an article and said, you know, the NFL's policy on THC has changed dramatically. I don't know why it's still even in there because how many teams play in states where it's legal?
Well, so this is what the new NFL policy is, right? Like, so they basically only test for cannabis one time a year, and that is right at between the start of training camp and the first preseason game, and like every other, like you still get drug tested, but they take out like whatever the chemical formula for cannabis is of the active drug. They remove that from all testing except for that period from the beginning of training camp through the first preseason game, right? Like, so that's the only 2-week stretch in which you'll get tested for weed now in the NFL. And this is the kicker, they quadrupled the amount, the allowable amount. So it's kind of like, look, the only way you're failing this test is that during the first 2 weeks of camp, you literally smoke like, an ounce a day. Like, come on, right? Like, you can not smoke weed for 2 weeks is all they're saying, right? And actually you can, but just don't overdo it, right? So what they did was, though, they essentially have legalized cannabis, right? If you think about it. Because they're only testing for it during a 2-week period in which all the players know when that 2-week period is, right? Because everybody's got to report to camp. It's a big deal. They say, like, hey, no weed, whatever, right? So you're probably smart to stop smoking the week before you go to camp, right? And then after the first preseason game, I would wait until, practice on Monday or Tuesday to be sure. And then I think you're good for the rest of the year, right? And so that's officially, that's their policy, from the CBA, which was back in 2021, mind you.
Yeah.
When they signed that. So, I mean, I think saying, like, look, now that for all intents and purposes, it's legal, players are taking advantage. And look, it's silly that they were as hard, that the punishment was as hard as it was for as long as it was. But, I mean, as a guy who still beats the shit out of his body, what I can tell you is since I started, bringing cannabis into the rotation, like, I don't take nearly as much Aleve. I haven't taken Tylenol in forever. Actually, I just took Tylenol the other day at the dentist. I went to the periodontist and got a deep cleaning, so she gave me an Advil and Tylenol combo because she face fucked me for an hour and a half. But yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of good positive. I sleep better, and my body just generally feels better, even though I beat the shit out of it every day. So I think NFL players who their job is to beat the shit out of themselves for 5-6 months out of the year are taking full advantage of it, and now the window is so small and so specific, right? That I mean, I have to imagine that coaches and like the strength and conditioning coach, probably about a month before training camp, probably like this week is making calls to guys like, no weed, no weed. Right? Second preseason game, weed. From now until second preseason game, no weed. Okay?
How many careers have been damaged by excess?
Josh Gordon.
Well, no. They've been damaged by the policies, but a number of NFL players have been given legal prescription drugs to deal with these injuries, get hooked on them,
Toradol,
and it fucks them
fentanyl,
up. I mean, Von Miller did an interview. He called it vitamin T, Toradol, and that is way worse for your body than cannabis.
I mean, I didn't play in the NFL, played, some intense Division I football, but even the shit that they gave us was just brutal for you.
I mean, I'm guessing Vicodin was probably like Tic Tacs.
I mean, no, they weren't as, more, they were more, wasn't like, you could get Vicodin. Percocets were a big thing.
All right.
But the
same class of drug, though.
Right.
Okay. Narcotic.
Not Valium, for some reason. I used to get that pretty regularly.
All right.
And it always makes you feel so nice. And Vioxx is the one, though. Because Vioxx was so toxic for you that, that ended up being a big class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
And that scared me a lot, especially when I had some of my liver and kidney issues, if that was, creeping and rearing its ugly head from, because that
Vioxx thing came out when you were in college. Because I was in Boston at the time.
We had boxes of it. I remember it was blue and orange box, and the pills were orange, and they coated the pills. They tasted like candy, right? Like just to make them, they coated whatever the coating was had like a sweet candy taste.
It's sugar. I don't think it is.
And so they were easy to take, and we took a lot of them before practice, during practice, after practice, before games, during games, after games, during the season, off season, took them all the time. So, and they're terrible for your heart, liver, kidney, all that sort of shit. And they just pump us full of it. So in the NFL, I can't even begin to imagine the level of drugs that these guys need to be able to function to do it, even with the rule changes. I know everyone thinks that the league is soft now, but if I put any of you on an NFL field during the season, you would shit yourself. Right? Like the size and speed that these people are moving at. And by the way, they know exactly what they're doing. Right? And if I put you in that situation, like you would absolutely, like if you think driving on 480 is a big deal, right? Imagine just standing at the middle linebacker spot, you know what I mean, with pick a lineman from any team, hiking a ball, knowing that he's got to move you from where you are to somewhere else. And he doesn't care how you physically get there. All he knows is that he's going to move you there. Or whatever. Or if you happen to get past him, then, you've got, what's his name down in Tennessee?
Travis Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Different Henry who was for Tennessee.
Right.
Also would want to run into him.
Right. You wouldn't want to run into him and all his kids. But
Derrick Henry.
But yeah, it's just crazy. So then you see like the collisions that happen, even in this soft league are still devastating. And you still see crazy injuries, broken, ripped, torn. Fucking Damar Hamlin's heart stopped.
Well, that's a freak thing, though.
It is a freak thing, but it happened because of the collision, right? Like he just got hit and the timing of it, whatever. Right. But it is good. Like that's what these guys are dealing with in the risk and the danger. And so, I like I said, that all to say that to do that on a weekly basis for 18, 19, 20 weeks, right, or 24 weeks once you include training camp all the way through the playoffs, you're not doing that with fucking, meditation and herbal tea.
Right. You're giving me flashbacks to Johnny Knoxville returning punts in street clothes against the USC team. It did not go well. And Johnny Knoxville is talking about all the painkillers he's taken over his life, and I was liver is fucked because of it. So, all right, we can wrap it up now. One more tease. We're at Whiskey Congress on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. Check us out. We're done.